welcome to Teacher Goals Tech Talks with me, Heather Brown, and Amanda is running the backstage stuff tonight. Tonight, I would like to feature some things before we bring on our guest. So let's see if you can see my screen. Okay, so if I go into present mode, this is pretty awesome. We all know that Canva has those little tricks like the confetti and things you can do like that, but they added a few for the fall. So if you press the F, you get some fall leaves. And then, of course, you have the best type of pie if you press the I, because pumpkin pie is the best. And I'm hoping they come out with some cool things like snowflakes or something for the winter here soon. Oops, I didn't mean to click on that one. Okay, now they have this other new feature that some of you I know have played with before, but I wanted to highlight it. We have this text to image. And let me start over so that way you can see how I got those pictures. I'm going to warn you, certain words won't work though. So like initially I typed child carrying red sled. And I want it as a photo to go with this background. Now, it thinks the word child, or it says, we detected words that may result in unsafe or offensive images with the word child. It does the same with boy or girl. So just a heads up on that. So I'm going to change it to student carrying a red sled. And we will let them do their magic. And I will get rid of a few more tabs while I'm waiting. It's working nice and slowly. Okay, so now you can see there are several different choices of children carrying red sleds. So let's say I wanted to choose this one. Here's what I especially like about this. I can make this child look like they're actually in this picture. All I need to do then is click Edit Image and remove the background. I'm not used to not hearing Amanda with me. And now you can see that child walking with a red sled. You can place them wherever. And so the combination of that text to image tool plus the background remover tool, I think is absolutely amazing. And I really wanted to highlight that for you tonight. Now, back to our show. I would like to introduce, there we go. I would like to introduce Jen Leban. She is a friend of mine, also from Illinois, but she's from the Chicago area, unlike me, who's from the cornfields. She is an LTC tech coach, and she's also an illustrator of several children's books. So welcome, Jen.
Hello. Hey.
Welcome.
So I was just messing around with Canva earlier today, and I was using that background remover tool. So that was really, it is magical. So I can't wait to do some of that stuff with my kids.
And it does it with the videos too. You don't even have to have a green screen. So
yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
That's what. Yeah, one of my fellow tech coaches, Stacy, shout out to Stacy. She showed her version of, I know we've seen it before on Twitter, but like the snow globe where you put the students in it. And it like sent me down this rabbit hole of like, I'm going to make a snow globe. And I used like, took a picture of myself on my phone, brought in a camera and like, boom, magic, like erased the background. I'm like, I'm in a snow globe with it. So it was really fun.
Is anyone else having problems hearing Jen?
Are you?
I don't know if it's me. Let's see.
I don't know. How do we find out? I'm on my built-in speakers on my Mac.
I don't know. We can keep trying. It was just that little bit that I couldn't understand. Okay. Everyone else is loud and clear, so you're good. It's just my end.
Okay. Cool. That's good because I always have that like, what did I do wrong? I thought I set it all up. All right. So wow, let me gather my thoughts here. I just got over having COVID a couple weeks ago, so I still live in the world of like brain fog. Now I can use that as my excuse, where before I just had to tell people that I was getting old. So yeah, so I was going to talk tonight about how I use Canva as an Edtech coach. So thank you for the introduction. I am not in Chicago proper, but I am Chicago suburbs. I'm very much a suburb mom, don't like to drive in the city type of deal. So
I can't blame you there. I still refuse to.
I don't want to take credit like I'm a city girl. I'm so not. So yes, I'm closer to Chicago, but I am by no means a city girl. So the Learning Technology Center of Illinois is our state organization for educational technology, and they provide all sorts of services for school districts across the entire state of Illinois. And I'm part of a department within the Learning Technology Center of technology coaches. And what I tell people is that if you are a school district that can't afford like your own full-time technology coaches, you can contract us, my team of coaches, because we're located all over the state. And you can contract us out for just a certain number of days. And what LTC does is they will kind of take those part-time jobs and put them together to make full-time positions for people like me and my awesome friends and teammates. So I absolutely love my job. I've gotten the opportunity to travel. I'm in the South Cook County suburbs of Illinois, but like I said, we have people all over the state, people that are, Southern Illinois, Central Illinois, Northern, all of that stuff. I just happen to be in, the area near where I live. So I work in a couple of school districts right now, but I'm actually split between 6 buildings. So I do need to use a lot of, we're really traveling with you today. Use a lot of organizational strategies and different, there's a lot that I have to do to just kind of manage my life in light of all of these things. And Canva is really great for that. So I am, can I just share, I put my slides in here? Can I put myself in? Yay!
It's looking good. Sorry, I was looking for a better spot for me to hear you.
No, that's okay. I just thought we were like traveling and we're sitting in the hallway and we're just, yeah, okay. Now, focus, brain fog, my adult ADHD. Thank you, magical Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. So this is my presentation on how I use Canva as a tech coach. I have to tell you, Heather, I had a little bit of like imposter syndrome because I don't know that anything that I'm going to share feels like super brand new or earth shattering, but sometimes like simple strategies are the things that you don't think about. So hopefully by sharing these, I can like just spark some ideas, even though they might not be totally brand new. Sometimes it's a different way to use,
Yeah, that's perfect. Because what I've discovered at times when I'm going into all my crazy things, people are like, that was too fast. So it's perfect to have the go back to the beginning things as well.
That's actually a good point because I am a fast talker as well. So now that I do go through stuff a lot. So this is my little introductory slide because I'm one of those badge people with all the badgy things. And one of my most recent ones is I earned the Apple Learning Coach certification. And I'm actually, this is the first time I'm going to say this publicly, so pressure on myself. I am starting my ISTE certification pathway this next month awesome. Coming out. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. See how that goes. Yes.
I'm here all right. If you need anything.
Hey. Oh, you know what I do want to tell? I'm going to bump back just a couple slides here. I've shared this presentation out as a link. It's a bit.ly /Canva coach, because a lot of these examples I'm going to show you, find your words. I shared them out so that you can make a copy of them and use them for your own stuff if you find this useful. So
perfect. Yeah. Templates are always helpful.
Yeah, put that out there. Templates. Thank you. I was like, what's the word? I don't know. But a lot of this is
made the same thing.
Made straight in Canva, or sometimes a little bit of app smashing. Like you'll see my Bitmojis in here and I bring those in. But the first thing, and I guess the most obvious way, is that one of the ways that I use Canva as a tech coach is I create my calendars, because I have to let the staff know at 6 different buildings where I'm going to be on different days. So I do have to do a lot of planning ahead, and I definitely have a system that works for me. But as far as something that helps teachers, we get a lot of cognitive overload. We get a lot of brain fog. We get a lot of distractedness. So the less that I can have, the less work I can have teachers do to try to reach me and try to figure out what I'm around, the better. So I've tried a number of different things. This is just literally like a printout, 1-pager. They'll hang it by their desk. I've also taken these graphics from Canva and used them in my email signature, and then I update them. So my email signature has like a link to book a time with me, because we do use Calendly to schedule stuff. But then if you're like, okay, is she even going to be here next week? I don't know. The one at the top here with the little calendars in the blue, this is the most recent kind of iteration of this. I think this works well. This was from one of my fellow coaches, Emily. She had a format kind of like this, and I love the visual, like little pink dots. It was easy to see, as opposed to my earlier calendars. You can see where it was just more like a list, where it was listed out. So I learn a lot just from my fellow coaches as far as how to tweak things. So it might seem really minor, like, okay, you made a calendar, but just visually the way you present it sometimes can make a really big difference. So I probably should have said this. My origin story is that I was an art teacher. That was how I started my life. The first 13 years of my teaching was as a visual arts teacher. So I love Canva because it's creative and it's artsy and all that stuff. But visual communication and how you present things visually really has an impact and can help communicate more quickly and more clearly. And this is one of those cases where if you have a calendar and you have the dots with the colors, it gets your message across so much more quickly. So
yes, and I love that you put it in with your email signature, so it's easy to find too.
Yeah, which also came from my fellow tech coach, Emily. So we have like the best department, and everybody has these great ideas, and I'm constantly getting stuff from them all the time. So
I honestly love your department. And Emily was a third grade teacher too, so her and I have a lot in common.
Yay! We do. We all have
down the roads.
We all have our little areas of like expertise too, and things that we do. So it's so fun to like have that, like, I don't know, we're like an Edtech octopus of skills.
There you go.
That'll be my next Canva graphic.
There you go.
Okay.
Use the text to image feature for that. See what you get.
Yes. Thank you. Excellent. Okay. So the next one that is, again, kind of obvious, but can be helpful is the idea of using Canva to make your banners for, say, like Google Classroom, or if you're using Canvas. That's always really hard with me. Canva for Canvas, whatever your LMS is, or making Google Forms, your graphics and things like that. But I think it's just super helpful. When I was using Google Classroom as a classroom teacher, I would use these custom banners to help me really quickly from like my dashboard view, see which class is which and which grade. I would color code by grade levels. So like 6th grade would be blue and 7th grade would be red. And, so that just using, like, not only is it cute, but it can actually serve organizational purposes. So these are fun. You can always take one design and then just like tweak the color for the classes that you're using. So
another thing I've seen teachers do with those banners is they have a challenge for the students to create the banner for the class. So they have to actually remember all the content they have learned and use that to make the banner.
Oh, that's cool. That would be really fun.
One thing for the teacher to do, and another way for students to be creative.
Yeah. No, that's super helpful. I also used to, when I had a Google Classroom, I would use the banner, and I had worked out the sizing so that it had arrows that was like, click on the classwork stream, click here for our Google Meet link. It actually had like directions in it. It took me a long time to like get it all sorted out right. But that was another thing too, where it literally would like point to stuff on the screen.
Yes.
Okay. Again, another one. I don't feel like any of these are like super earth-shattering, but using Canva to create like Jamboard backgrounds or templates for if you have a smart board, or one of my district uses BenQ boards. So you can just take JPEG files, things that you create in Canva, and you can then use those on your, you know, bigger devices or collaborative devices, and just use them as backgrounds or like graphic organizers when you're doing different activities. So one of these was a reflection activity that I did with teachers, where we were kind of reflecting on tech for the year and kind of giving our review, our annual review. So they dropped little sticky notes on like, here's stuff that happened that was good, and here's stuff that happened that was bad. The other one in the center here, the little crinkly paper background one, was one where we were just looking to get feedback, like, you know, phrases and things from teachers to get them to kind of brainstorming at the beginning of a PD session. And then the third one that I showed here, the Jumpstart Reflections, is a program that I actually did with LTC with one of my colleagues, one of the regional EdTech coordinators, Eric Santos. He and I did a session for new teachers over the summer prior to the fall. So districts had sent like their new teachers in to kind of get a little tech overview, because not everybody is, you know, fresh out of college or end of a tech course, especially if you're, you know, changing careers or coming back from, you know, being home for a while or whatever. Not everybody has like a good ed tech foundation. So we had this Jumpstart program, and it was kind of fun because then at the very end of the program, we had everybody kind of share what they learned or something cool that they made or things like that. So that was kind of fun, like an exit ticket item. But you can also use Canva to make more traditional graphic organizers too. If you just need like a chart for like a brainstorming, like a word web, or use it to make wow, find your words, Jen. You're a PE teacher and you have to show how the field is laid out. You know, what is that called?
You're asking the person who knows nothing about PE.
You know, when you talk about how the floor is set up and there's plays. Wow.
Yeah, like the strategy to use on the field or on the court, whatever that's called.
Okay, so here's where my brain comes from. I used to play roller derby, so we always needed a drawing of the track and what the track looked like. So then we could show the players, you know, like X's and O's and where they go, and you go here and you go here. So my point is, you can create those same diagrams and those same layouts in Canva and then use those on your board as well. So
there you go.
So if you need like a very specific background, like a roller derby track, you can do that with the magic of Canva.
And now actually Canva has the whiteboard feature, so you can even do that all right there, which I absolutely love, because it doesn't matter how big you get, you just scroll to whichever side you need. It is amazing.
Ooh. I need to be using that a little bit more then.
Well, let me know if you need any tips.
Yay. So this is a very specific use that I did. So my one school district, I'm in Chicago Ridge, one of the Chicago Ridge school districts, and they have the BenQ boards. It's a flat panel board, kind of like if you have a ViewSonic or a ClearTouch or a smart board, you know, they all have their own special things. Well, the BenQ boards, you can log into them and you still have like a desktop, so you can have a wallpaper, so that some of the teachers like to take them and create them for different holidays and things like that. So basically you're creating a desktop wallpaper, except the thing about the BenQ board is that it has a very specific layout. So you see that like gray, I don't know what you call it in the center, is for some of the widgets. And then underneath that needs to have a space. So it's very customized to that specific layout. But that's what's kind of neat with Canva, is that you can set up a template like that has it. And then I push that out, like I share that with all the teachers so they can go in and they can customize it. So this was just my example one that I made. So if you look on this particular slide, if you click on the Canva logo, the little Canva circle, anytime that's there, it will link you to my actual design, and you can go in and you can mess with it if you want. So
that's good to know.
Yeah. So, I mean, depending on what your school uses in terms of like their display panels or whatever, you could create something similar or even use this and adapt it as you need to.
Yeah, one of our teachers actually puts their calendar on their desktop. So when they pull up their smart board, the students can see the calendar to see when they don't have school and things like that.
That's so smart. All right. So up right now, we're looking at something that I've kind of been playing around with in Canva. It's a relatively new idea that I had, which was basically I've created an infographic, but here's the purpose behind it. You're a brand new teacher, you get a job at a school, and you're like, cool, I'm excited to use this tool and this tool and this tool. And do we pay for this? And what do we use here at our school for this? And I thought, how cool would it be if a school created kind of an infographic like this that's like, here's your tech toolbox for Greenwood School. You know, here we use Google Classroom and we use PowerSchool as our grade book. And we use, you know, Class Dojo as our communication tool. And we pay for Blookit or whatever, you know, so that way the school could designate, like, here are the things that we use, especially in Illinois with all the new SAPA laws, the student privacy laws. You can't just use a tool just because. It has to be like approved and you have to be in a contract with the vendor, you know, those sorts of things. So if you are an Illinois teacher, and I know some other states have this too, this can be, it can be a little bit of a headache, but I think that if schools created this kind of general template that teachers walking in would know, here's what you can use for these different purposes. And then you can spend your time like digging more deeply into, you know, these different tools like Canva for your, you know, creativity and design, you know, stuff, and not spend time on something like, you know, maybe you really love Pear Deck or you really love Nearpod, but your school doesn't pay for those things, but they have something else, you know? So I don't know, it kind of allows you to use your energy more efficiently. So
I really like this. And so we had a few new teachers coming to our school this year that they were using things I'd never even heard of, and they're free. So to let them edit it would be awesome, because then they could add on what they were learning as well.
I think this would be good. Sorry, drinking my water. It would be good to kind of share, because sometimes you just stumble into a teacher's classroom that's using, you know, tool A or B very heavily, and you're like, wait, what's this thing? I didn't even know about it. So I just think it's cool if we all kind of collaborate and like, here's the things that we use, you know. I don't know. I've gotten so much just from sharing with people. Can't do it enough.
Yeah, I try to share everything. So
yeah, I'm an oversharer. So
I am. That's okay.
So kind of going with the idea of like the infographic, which is kind of the last slide. This is one where at the end of my school year last year, this is my second year with LTC as a tech coach, I made these kind of like district tech overview kind of infographics, because I did these presentations at the end of the year that was like, hey, I've met with this many teachers and we've talked about this and this and this. So I kind of did this like overview, kind of similar to the tech toolbox thing I was talking about, but in this case, it was more like, you know, here's what we use, you know, here's our smart board versus our BenQ versus our Clear Touch, and here's the classes we offer in our district, and here are the things we have, you know. So it's just kind of a neat way to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Take all the information I learned during the year, not curate, but yes, and kind of put it all into one place. Oh, I'm struggling. Struggle bus
okay.
here.
I think we all are. Me with RSV, you getting over COVID. It's just a big struggle.
But maybe all together we can form like one ultra teacher.
Maybe.
So this is another infographic. This is one that I actually created last year, but is pretty, unfortunately, it does become kind of relevant. I feel like we're on this merry-go-round of like things get better with illnesses and then things start to swell again. And then, you know, so as a teacher, one of the things you always have to have in your back pocket is that like preparing for the potential of an e-learning, be it like a bad weather day, be it like a surge in illness or whatever, you just always need to know. So I did create a larger presentation that went along with this, but I kind of, again, synthesized it into one graphic that was like, you know what, your school calls an e-learning day and you were in the middle of, you know, I'm going to start at the top here. So in the middle of direct instruction or a lecture, it says if, then, and like things you can use. Well, you could just record yourself in a video, like a Screencastify video, and post that out. So that's how you could do that on e-learning. But if you were doing something like you wanted quick, student responses or like exit tickets, you could use Jamboard or Padlet, because there are some teachers that don't always see the clear connection between, like, if I was doing this, then here's the digital tool I can use to accommodate that in a distance learning or an e-learning situation. So that was kind of, a way to do that.
If you would link those two, it'd be so easy for those teachers who sometimes struggle with all the different apps we have, just make it a one click and go.
Well, thankfully, if you click this big Canva button here, it'll take you to my template, and you can totally customize it for your school, and you can link out to the things. Ta-da!
It's perfect.
Yeah. Hey, now, and the other thing that I guess I should probably point out too is, like, these infographics, I'm not creating them from scratch. A lot of times I go into Canva and I will just search the existing designs or the templates. And even if it's not like, I didn't necessarily search if then, I might have searched something else that I think would be in like a 2-column format. Like, I think if you search like a this or that, kind of thing, you can use that for a 2 columns. You could even search for something like a price list, because it's like an item and then how much it costs. So,
or would you rather?
So when you're searching in Canva, it doesn't always need to be like that exact thing. If you could just think of like visually how information is presented, you can adapt one thing for something else. So I think that's, I don't know. I guess that's
very
kind of my help.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, so this is called the Where Am I sign. And I created it. I created this year, and it was kind of on a whim, as not as a joke, but just kind of, we never knew where anybody was. We never knew where like my tech director was or whatever. So we created this sign, and it was like, where am I? So if you're looking for this person, and it was kind of born out of, sometimes you'll see teachers have these on their door, or like special services. I know, like, my friend who's a speech path, she would have it on her door, and she would like put a little clothespin on it, like for where she's at, so I'm in a meeting, or like I'm out today, go back to class, that sort of thing. So we made this sign in Canva, and we ended up printing it out larger, like across like 4 pieces of paper or something. We laminated it. And then we actually made little magnets out of our Bitmojis. There's 4 of us in the tech office. We made little Bitmojis. So we have this on our whiteboard, our magnetic whiteboard, and then we just move the little magnet where we're at. So like tomorrow I'm going to be at Greenwood. So before I left today, I moved my little magnet to the at Greenwood sign, so that we just kind of know where to find each other when we're like at places. So it started out as just kind of a funny joke, but yeah, it's very helpful.
Oh, it is. And I can see even teachers using that, like if their kids are at music or out at recess or whatever. That way, if someone's trying to find a student, they know.
That is a good point. Or I was thinking like a version of this that's like, what specials do we have today? And you could have like your choice between the classes where you go to and stuff. Yeah. If I had one constant location, or like one district, I would definitely have this. Like, where could you find me today? Like at one place, I don't have an office. I live that nomad life. So, so make it work. So actually, born out of that situation, because I'm not in the same place all the time, there were a couple of locations where I didn't necessarily have an office. One of my buildings, I'm like kind of in like a closet. And another place I was like, yeah, I was kind of getting stuck in a closet, and that's fine. A lot of times I just camp out in the teacher's lounge, because I get a lot of traffic and teachers coming in and out, and I kind of get way more interactions with teachers than if I hide in a closet all day. But what I did was this particular sign, again, designed it in Canva, printed it out, laminated it. I hung it on the door of the closet where normally people would find me if they needed to find me. And I would just use a wipe off marker, and I would put down when my next visit was. So they knew, like, I was here today, but I'll be back March 6th, or something like that. So that way, if somebody walks by, like, oh, is Jen here today, to like look, they'd be like, oh no, she's going to be back on this day. So that was actually pretty helpful. I had a district where I only had 30 contract days last year, and it works out to almost, I know, it works out to like almost once a week, but not quite. So it was hard for people to remember when I was going to be there. So I literally had this laminated sign and I would just put it outside the room, and then they would be like, hey, so God forbid, like something happened and I missed it. They'd be like, you said you were going to be here this day. It's nice to feel wanted though.
Yes. That actually reminds me of back when I was an RA and in college, and I had to have the dry erase board on my door telling residents where I was.
Yeah,
But
that's basically
a lot nicer.
Yeah, a little bit. I just made it look fancy. That's what's so great about Canva. You just make things fancy.
Exactly.
So yeah. So this next one is, again, this one's not even my idea. It's not even my picture. This is from Brian Krause, one of my other tech coaches that I work with at LTC. He designed
and he's in our area, in our little
he's in your area. Yeah.
Yeah.
He works with the pretzels. That's the
Yes, he's in Freeport.
Yes, he's in Freeport. So he made this awesome design with the intention of having them printed onto stickers, because he noticed that a lot of teachers on their laptops, so like next to your, like under your keypad, sorry, I'm doing like a pretend computer here, under your keyboard, but next to the touchpad,
right,
you have that like kind of flat area on your laptop. And he noticed that it was this like real estate that could be utilized. It could be utilized, yeah, with a sticker like this that has, most used Chrome shortcuts, or those ones that you will always have to look up all the time. So there's certain ones
yes.
I remember copy paste, but I'm trying to remember what's the one I always have to look up all the time. I always had to look up when I wanted to put something in more than one folder, although now Google Drive does shortcuts, but there used to be a way to, and I always had to like look that up. I could never remember it, but this would be cool for any, teacher to just personalize one for themselves with their own, most used shortcuts.
Control I is, or Control Z is undo. I never knew that.
Really? That's my favorite.
I've always just done the backwards arrow because that's what I teach kids to do.
Okay, so Control Z is my favorite keyboard shortcut, and that's how I tell kids, because when you work in tech, you're a nerd and you have things like favorite keyboard shortcuts. And here's why, because think about the letter Z, it goes like this. So you're like erasing away your mistakes.
I like it.
That's what I tell them. I'm like, you're undoing Z.
No, I will.
So there you go. Now you'll never forget. Control Z, erasing away your mistakes. So I've done a lot of like sticker designs on Canva. I love designing on Canva to then take into something else, although you can get stuff printed from within Canva. And I actually have an example I'll show in a little bit. What's our time, Heather? Do I need to get moving?
I'm sorry, will you say that again? You cut out on me. I'm really trying here.
Sorry, time-wise. Do I need to are we like half hour and then that's it? I need to get out of here?
You're okay. You're okay. You're doing fine.
I'm okay? All right.
Amanda said 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I can like boom, 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 boom. In fact, I think I have four slides. So we got this.
Go for it.
So in Canva, and again, I linked out to this because this is a pretty epic graphic that I made, and it's designed on a 11 by 17, I believe, paper. So it's designed to be printed out on a larger size if you have access to that, with the idea that you would take this and probably laminate it, but use it as a placemat on the student desk when you're using. So like WeVideo is one of my favorite things, the video editing tool. And I teach it to kids, and there's just so much to learn and a lot of things to remember that I sort of made this like basics and like tutorial things you always have to look back on, with the idea that it would be on your work area. So even when you're like working on your computer or your Chromebook, then you could just kind of like move to the side, like, oh, there's that thing, or move it or lift it, and it would be right there. So I just thought it was a way to kind of utilize that space and have, information easy to find.
Much easier.
Yeah. And then speaking of the Chromebook shortcuts from the stickers, I actually made a version that was actually like a printable poster, like a one-pager flyer with Chromebook shortcuts. And see, there's your undo again. It's haunting you, Heather. So it's there.
It is.
This is using it. Specific to Chromebooks, because I had some students that were new to Chromebooks, had to introduce them. This was just a cool thing you could print out, put on your Chromebook cart, kind of a deal for, teachers and everything. So that was there too. So you could go in, you can customize that as well. And then the last two things are very specific to coaching. This particular coaching menu, though, is not entirely my design. It was originally from Lauren Richardson. She shared her original design with me, which I also linked out. So I took her design, customized it, made my own version, but everything is like an idea from an idea from an idea. But I made these as half-page flyers. I gave them out at the beginning of the school year this year because this was my second year with my schools. And it was just they knew who I was, but it was just kind of a refresher of like, well, we know who Jen is, but what can she do? So I called this, How Can I Help? And it just had some little ideas of things that your tech coach can do for you to help you out. It had a link to my website. It had a link to book an appointment with me. And it was just something that was small. You could post it behind your desk, just as a little refresher. So this was the thing that I gave out in year 2. And then my last slide here is what I gave out in year 1. And these were postcards that I did have printed out using Canva. So I actually printed the postcards within Canva as well. So my first year I did postcards as like a hello introduction, getting to know you thing. So on the back side was all my contact info. And on the front side was a little bit about me with like a QR code that they could scan to book an appointment. Yeah. And then the little Canva logo on each thing. So if you want to make your own postcard, the template's there. If you want to make your own menu, it's there. If you want any of these things that I shared, it's all accessible. It's all shareable. So I guess to kind of sum it up, because that's my last, that was my last idea there, is that I don't feel like any of the ideas in and of themselves are like super amazing and earth-shattering, but just how you use them and how you can customize them and make them work for you. I think that just the ideas it can spark can be kind of helpful.
Oh, for sure. And you gave me all sorts of new ideas for classroom things, even though it's for a tech coach. So it works out well.
Works for everybody.
That sounds good. And thank you for coming to Teacher Tech Talks. And I look forward to seeing you at FETC or IdeaCon or somewhere.
Not at VTC. Travel is hard, but I will definitely be around at IdeaCon. So if anybody else is in the Illinois area coming around, I will be there. I am excited.
Awesome. I can't wait to see you there.
Woohoo!
Have a good night.
Courses by TeacherGoals. Register now for the Canva Classroom.